fine people out there in the netherworld of Slamville. Thank you for being patient. Andrew, I see you, and I will connect with you via a messenger thread to give you the info. You good? Give me a thumbs up. Cool. We're good. Thanks for everyone for being patient. Welcome to the Slam. I'm going to keep you all muted for now. It'll be a little bit easier that way. If you're not one of the 4 people now, we have an opening, and you want to tell a story, please, in the chat your name, send your name, and I'll know that you want to tell a story. All right. Aditya, I've got you. I want to make sure that our pre-confirmed. Bhavana, are you driving? Don't say anything. Don't just ignore what I'm saying. But Bhavana, you wouldn't be here if you weren't telling a story. Wonderful. If you want to tell a story, put your name in the chat. And you should probably be able to tell a story. The only reason Bob is here, Steph is here. Hi, Steph. I've got everyone on mute for now. It'll be a little bit easier that way. We've got a few more minutes. If you want to tell a story tonight, right now, as it stands, we only have 5 people. So if you're a competitive type and you want to win, that's good. If you're a curator / producer like me, wanting a lot of people to come and tell stories, it's not so good, but it's on me. I do have my 3 judges ready to go. They're kind of incognito. They're all men. I don't know if that changes your game plan at all. If you are on the fence about telling a story, go for it. We're friendly, mostly. It's competitive. Just so you know, and I'll say this again, the judges are going to decide first place, and you, our audience, after all of the storytellers have told, will decide second place. So reason to pay attention. Not that you wouldn't have, but gives me... Cool. Right now, we have 5 storytellers. Where are you people? Aditya, the 5 are Stephanie Rogers, located in Chicago, Illinois. Hang on 1 sec, sorry. We've got Bob Dancer in Las Vegas, Nevada. We've got Bhavana, I'm not sure of her last name, in Hawaii. We've got you. Where are you? You can unmute yourself.
Yeah, I'm from New Jersey, in Edison, New Jersey.
All right, cool. And actually, I had one of my storytellers that was confirmed before he couldn't make it. We've got Howard Lieberman joining us. He's likely wanting to tell a story. And he's in Minneapolis. I don't know why I'm compelled to share where people are from, but I am.
Looks like he's here, actually.
Yeah. Howard, you can tell a story if you want to. You want to give me a thumbs up? Now, Howard, you do realize that the theme is struggle. That might be a hard one for you to tell a story about. I know. I'm just reading a couple of the chats as they come in. I know it doesn't make for the most compelling Zoom experience. While we wait for a few more minutes, if you are not familiar with Zoom and you're on your laptop, on the top towards the right, you can change it from speaker view, which is the main person speaking, or gallery view. There is a way that I can manipulate it so that I put a spotlight on the teller, and I believe no matter what, you will see him or her that way. I'm still learning, my apologies. And most importantly, perhaps for this evening, is if you want to tell a story, let me know. That means you, Kat. If you want to tell a story, let me know. And at the end of all 10 tellers, or however many we have, at this point it's 6, which is fine. The audience will decide second place. And you'll do that by sending me the person who you think did best. Private message me in Zoom. We'll work that out later. But while we're at it, on the bottom of your laptop or your desktop, I believe it should be for all of you, there's a chat function so you can chat to the entire group. It should say everybody or everyone. If you want to give the tellers any feedback, a question for them, or whatever it may be, you could do that. Or you can send somebody a private message, which is what you'll do at the end when you are determining your winner. While we're waiting, I think there's a couple of people. Oh, there's Jay. It's Jay, right? Jay Rohr? Jay. All right, so let's go back. So, Kat, are you in? Steph, you're telling, yes. I'm not putting you on the spot too much, Kat, but if you want to tell, let me know. Thumbs up would be. I can't hear you. It looks like you don't want to. And who else? Jennifer's here. I see some new people, so it's cool to see some new people like Minnie. Not telling. I can't hear you. That's on purpose. It's not personal. But if you can hear me, and I think you can, I'm going to say it a couple more times. If you want to tell, it's not too late. Hanadi is here.
Richard has said that he'll tell if he can't get a full house. So he was briefly here. I suspect he's still here.
We have got a full house. I'll
Okay.
make it full. We're going to be full. Richard's in. So we've got Steph in Chicago, Richard and Bob in Las Vegas, Nevada. I was just listening to a podcast called Mobbed Up. It's pretty good if you want to check that out. I have no connection to it. Just thought it would be a nice little thing to add there. We've got Steph in Chicago. I'm going to give the storytellers a chance after they tell to do a quick plug because some of them are storytellers and or producers and have other projects. We've got Howard in Minnesota. Bhavana, Hawaii, Aditya, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. In New Jersey, we've got Jay. I don't know where Jay is. Put it in the chat. And Drew Willard, yes. Just remember, guys, I'm going to say this real quick again. Hey, Jay's from Chicago. That's right. Remember this to my storytellers. The theme is around struggle. If your story has absolutely nothing to do with struggle, you can't win, just to be fair. I know how The Moth does it. They give you like a point off for a story that has nothing to do with the theme, but it could still be this amazing story and you can win. I think that's a really crappy rule. I think if the theme is struggle and your story is about going out into a meadow and picking flowers and then making love to your girlfriend, first of all, I don't like you. But I mean, it's not so personal. It's just my own stuff and I get triggered. But that's not what this is about this evening. It's not about struggle. The other thing is if you go over 5 minutes and 30 seconds, you're going to get to continue your story because it's really crappy to cut somebody off, but you can't win. So what I would do if I were you, just grab a phone or something to time it. Seems like it's an easy solution. All right. I'm going to say the names one more time just to make sure that I've got everybody. I'm going to check the chat. Make sure that I didn't miss anyone. Richard, you are in if you want to be. Cool. So, Steph, Richard, Drew, Aditya, Jay, Bob, Howard, Bhavana. That is 8. Who did I miss, if anyone? All right. It looks like our full house is 8 tellers, which means you have a little bit better chance of winning if that's what you want. I don't know. I'd go for the win. In like 1 minute, I will. Hang on one sec. Hanadi, I know I'm not pronouncing your name right. You have your I don't think you're telling a story. I just wanted to make sure that you didn't want to.
No, I think I'll listen. Thank you, though.
Yeah, and Elena Beth. And by the way, I've totally broken my rule. I was like a clear 7:05 sharp. If you're not here, you can't tell. But I've changed that, and I did that just so we could have 10. If you're angry at me for that, that would be silly. There's so many other things to be angry about. Elena Beth, you're my last person I'm asking. Let me know.
Sorry, I have it on Facebook at the same time, so I'm not hearing everything. So let me.
Oh, is it Elena Beth? Are we streaming on Facebook? Okay. Let me know.
I'm hearing it twice. I don't know if I'm telling a story. I thought I wasn't.
Then you don't have to. Just an option. Don't worry.
Let me think, but let me get off of Facebook Live because I'm hearing everything twice.
No problem.
Exit to the left onto exit 103B, I-40 West, US 421 North, Winston-Salem.
I love hearing people's directions in their cars. That is amazing. But could you mute yourself, please?
Sorry, I'm trying to figure this out.
I'll mute you. I'm muting everybody to be safe here. Great. Well, thanks everyone for being here. I appreciate it. Use the chat function moving forward. The only people that will be unmuted are the storytellers. I've got 8 people right now, so that's cool. Just remember, the theme is struggle, 5 minutes, 30 seconds, and I'm asking the audience to send their favorite storyteller at the end, after 10. The 8 storytellers go. So because we have 8, we'll do 4 storytellers. We'll have a little break. We'll have 4 more. We'll have a little break. We'll have a winner. And then I might do some pole dancing, but that's more impromptu. So if that's your thing, stay here with me and you'll get a little extra treat. If you're not clear on how Zoom works, shoot me a little message in the chat. I'll try to get you so you can have a decent experience here. We are on Facebook Live, just so you know. And last count, I think we had 1.1 million people watching this. So don't get freaked out. You've got this. You've got this. Cool. I think my announcements are done. If I've not met you before, thank you for attending. My name is Sean. I'm from New York. I live in North Carolina. It's not about me. All right, here we go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my 8 names. I'm going to mix them up, and we're going to have our first storyteller of the evening. My judges who can probably hear me, let's do it. Yes, John, we're starting. All right, our first storyteller this evening, who I just have a feeling is going to crush it, they just are, is, wouldn't you know it, from Stillwater, frickin' Minnesota, going first, a tough spot for any storyteller. If anyone could do it, Howard can. Howard, unmute yourself, take a breath, and begin.
I actually am better when I'm muted. Bobby Peckler could laugh like nobody else could laugh. We were in high school in Chicago, Amundsen High School, and I was kind of a loner, but Bobby was a true friend. He would invite me over and we would have pajama parties at his house. We would listen to opera. I'm a working class Jewish kid from Chicago. We didn't do opera, but we listened to opera. And we talked about art. And when Bobby Peckler laughed, he didn't just, ah. His laugh started somewhere down in his belly and came up through his chest and out through his mouth, and he laughed riotously. I mean, he laughed and laughed and laughed, and it was infectious. I laughed too. And when we started laughing, we'd jump from his two beds, bed to bed to bed to bed. And I had fun. Now, for a depressed kid, having fun is a good thing, right? Yeah, I thought so. And so I began to stay over more and more. We even listened to Wagner. Now, I didn't like Wagner then, and I don't like Wagner now. But it was a new world for me. I was a comic book reader. I didn't even read books. And now I was listening to opera. And we would jump around in our undershorts and laugh. And I learned to laugh like that. And we'd sit around and life was good. Life was good until one day, Bobby says, sit. I said, okay. And I'm sitting on the edge of the bed in my little skivvies. And Bobby said, I had sex with a nurse last night. Well, I was a virgin. And I thought, well, that's pretty cool. You had sex last night and we're in high school. He said, a male nurse. I gave him that expression. He said, I had sex with a male nurse. He said, but I'm not a homosexual. I'm not a homosexual. Please, I won't ever do it again. You're my best friend. I won't ever do that ever again. Please, please be my friend. And I paused. And I should have said, oh, what do I care? Of course I'm your friend. And this won't change anything. But if I tell you that now, that would be a lie. And Bobby knew it was a lie. He crossed his legs and he looked at me and he said, are you sure? I said, you're my friend. You're my friend. Why would I not be friends with you? Because, and I stopped. When I went back to school, I began to notice people looking at me. And maybe it was because I was a friend of Bobby Peckler, who apparently everybody in the school knew was a homosexual, except for me. And I began to think about what I did. I didn't sit like this, but someone said, that's what women do. They cross their chest like that. And you can't see me, but I have my legs crossed the way girls cross their legs. And I became very, very, very self-conscious. And I had to think about, does everybody now see me as a homosexual? And I began to withdraw. Oh, I went to Bobby's house a few more times. And we jumped around. And he laughed that laugh that was so infectious. But I couldn't smile the same way I used to. Bobby says, sit. He said, I had sex with that nurse again last night. Howie, I'm a homosexual. But please, please, please be my friend. Please, I need a friend. I need you as my friend. And I did this again. I was at a loss for words. And I said, sure, Bobby. we'll always be friends. But no, I began to withdraw. I began to sit like a man with the legs spread, and I never did this. And I didn't wear clothes that might mark me as a homosexual. And I dropped Bobby from my life. Until many, many years later. Many. About 5 years ago, through a mutual friend, I tried to find Bobby. I tried to say, Bobby, I'm sorry. I've changed. The world has changed. I was wrong. I love you, Bobby. And the further I dug, the more I realized I could never, never thank Bobby Peckler. Because I found out that Bobby Peckler, he contracted HIV and he died from AIDS a good 20 years or so before I finally found the courage to say, I'm sorry.
I think your story's done.
I'm done. I can add more if you want me to, but I'm done.
So who's clapping and how can we hear them?
I'm clapping because I unmuted because he deserves a clap because it's
Oh
nice
yeah,
to
so
clap
if
for
you
people.
Thank you. Thank you.
So John is such an alpha dog. He's one of our judges. Just so you know, there's 3 male judges, if that affects your storytelling. As a man, I feel like maybe I can get away with saying that. Nonetheless, yes, I apologize for not telling people. If you want to unmute yourselves to give someone a bravo or a clap, by all means do that. Please remember to then mute yourself just because it makes usually for a more pleasurable experience. I apologize to you, Howard, for not giving people that option and only having one lone clap in some suburb south of Boston named John Papernick clapping. I do not feel as bad about that as you apparently did for your friend, which was a beautiful story. So thank you for sharing that.
Woo!
Here we go. All right, delayed clapping. It's not the same effect. As you all do that, just one more. I want to be super clear because I'm a man who gets very easily confused. Steph, Richard, Jay, Drew, Bob, Bhavana, and Aditya. If I did not say your name, please let me know ASAP in the chat. Good job, Howard. Thanks for going first. I know you didn't really have much of a choice. But like always, you handled it like a real pro. And so thank you for that. All right. Our judges are doing the judging thing, and I'm doing the hosting thing, and you're all doing your thing. We've got 7 more storytellers this evening. Remember, try to stick to that theme. Presumably you know the story you're already telling and you've thought about this. Try to bear in mind the time. I'm going to take the names and pick them up again. If you have unmuted yourself, please mute yourself. The reason that we do that is mostly because there's always 1 or 2 people, they don't realize it, but something's happening outside or there's some weird sound, and it does affect people hearing the storyteller well. If you have any information or any feedback for Howard, a question perhaps, you can use that in the chat privately to him, or you can send a message to everybody. I see several messages coming in, so thank you for that. And then after this, some people like to hang out sometimes and talk. So if you want to talk to the storytellers, if they stick around, talk about story or whatever you're going through, I invite you to do that when we're done. And that would be when we have the winner, who, by the way, will get a prize, which is exceptionally modest, but nonetheless a prize. I'm going to mix up the 7 names now. We're going to have our second storyteller of our July Story Slam. I should do this in front of you just so you know that I'm not being affected by the mob. They called me, but I'm not going to give. No way, man. No way. Nobody's going to, no one's screwing with the integrity of these events. Our second storyteller this evening is in the Chicago area. I don't know exactly where, but he's got a kick-ass Fu Manchu mustache. When you're ready, Jay, unmute yourself and we shall listen. Break a leg.
All right. So it's winter break. My first semester at college has just wrapped up and it's been a fun time. And I get a phone call from a buddy of mine. We went to high school together. And he calls me up and he wants to get together. We went to the same high school, but we went to different colleges. So he wants to meet up and sort of reconnect. So we get together at a local park and we do what we used to do in high school, which is just walk around and like smoke and drink and just chit chat aimlessly. And after we're done with the usual like catch up banter, he starts talking about the big things that have been going on in his life. And what happened that was big for him this year at college was that he started dating somebody. Now, all throughout high school, this guy never went out with anybody. And that never stopped him from giving people romantic advice. But suffice it to say, he started dating a young lady and he was very happy about the situation, but he was having some problems. And he asked me for advice, which is kind of interesting when you know somebody's a bit of a know-it-all for them to ask you for advice. I asked him what was the particular issue that they were having. Not that I'm super qualified in the field of romance myself, but he's my friend, he's asking me, so I'm here to help. And he starts elaborating on how he started to notice certain things, such as when they went to parties, she had a tendency to drink like her goal was to get blackout drunk. He started to notice that she occasionally seemed to just all of a sudden have cuts and scars on herself, like she'd been cutting herself in the bathroom. He also had a sneaking suspicion that she was anorexic, and it was starting to cause concerns, and it ended up with them having a fight, at which point she told him that in high school, a friend of hers at a party had sexually assaulted her. He didn't know what to do with this information, and he turned to me and he said, Jay, I need your advice because of the fact you used to go out with that psycho cocaine bitch, right? And she got raped like 8 times. And I said to him, wait, hold on, let's calm down. First off, it was only 4. And second of all, her name is Sarah. For the last time, stop calling her psycho cocaine bitch. And you saw a dim light kind of actually flared up in his eyes as this thought crossed his mind. And he said to me, hey, do you think the fact that she was like all kind of like crazy and into drugs is probably because of the fact she got assaulted a whole bunch? And I said to him, how in God's name is your GPA higher than mine? You're just figuring that out right now. So we started talking about the situation with the lady that he was involved with. He wanted to know how he could fix what was wrong with her. And I said to him, unfortunately, this isn't the kind of thing that you can just kind of like take hold of and sort of wrestle it into the ground. You can't wrangle this. You can't fix this, so to speak. What you have to do in this situation is that you just have to be there for her, okay? You have to support her, whatever her decisions are, with what she's going forward with. You can't push somebody into getting better, is what I tried to make clear to him over an hour and a half. See, I kept saying things to him like, if she wants to go to a psychiatrist, you tell her, I'm here for you. I will help you find one. I will take you to meetings if that's what you want to do. His thought process was, baby, your brain's broken. You have to go to the doctor. And I kept trying to tell him this is not the way to help somebody. This is just the way to push them away. But after an hour and a half of discussion, it finally started to sink in little by little that when people come to you with their problems, they're not necessarily asking you to come up with a solution for them. Sometimes they need to vent. They need to release what's the pressure inside them and what's crushing them from the outside within and so on and so forth. And that's what she was trying to do. She was finally opening up to somebody, and what she needed from him was someone not to tell her what she needed, but someone just to support the decision she was going to make going forward. And I know that that was a scary thing for him because his whole thought process was white knight syndrome. He was like, we're going to track the guy down and beat him into paste. And I made it clear to him, look, dude, there's no way we're going to be able to hit this guy hard enough that he goes back in time and tells himself not to assault this woman. So what you need to come to terms with is the fact that all you can do is be there for her, listen, support, and care for her. Thank you.
Good job, Jay.
Good job. Yeah, good story, Jay.
Hey, Jay, where are you in Chicago? What part?
Currently, I live in an area called Skokie, which is right outside the Chicago proper city area. I'm like 10 minutes away from the city.
Yeah. Is that the same? Is
But
that
I've lived all over.
When I was growing up, they had the KKK thing. That was like what it was known for. Is that Skokie? Nazis specifically.
Right. But yeah. They rallied to march through the town. It was unfortunate. It was but although we do. Oh, I'm sorry, but although we do sort of like take that as a bit of pride because that's why the in the Blues Brothers, the Illinois Nazis, that's what that's based on. So.
Well,
is Old Orchard still there?
Yes, Old Orchard is still there. They call it Westfield now, but they did some expansion, a little bit of revision, but it's still there. Still a nice spot.
Jay, you got some comments coming in, so that's nice. And Stephanie, by the way, lives near you, so maybe you have a new friend.
Hello.
By the way, I applaud you for telling that kind of story. And I apologize, Howard, for you as well. I feel exactly the same. Those are not easy stories to tell. And Jay, I actually find it's such an interesting thing you're doing because anybody who knows me in like storytelling circles knows that I'm like struggling with how to tell certain kinds of stories. The kind of story you just told in which there's that message in it. And particularly what you focused on with, she didn't want anybody to fix her, right? That kind of message it's just good for you for doing that. It's a challenging to do in a story format. So well done. Thanks again. Yeah. All right, Jay's muted. Yeah, those are hard stories to tell. I mean, I don't just mean like emotionally, just structurally. So I'm learning from you all, which is really the only reason I'm doing this, to steal your ideas. Some of the comments are coming in to both Howard and Jay are not surprised at all, quite kind and encouraging. Cool. So if you have any questions for the storytellers, I didn't tell them necessarily that you might be sending them questions, but I think they're okay with it. If it's about their story or about their haircut, or in Howard's case, lack thereof. It is too late to put your name in to tell a story. We've had 2 go already. We've got off to a fantastic start. We're gonna have 2 more, and then we're gonna have a little break. Now, just so you know, if at any point you wanted to go to the bathroom, you don't have to wait to the break. You don't have to, you could go, and if you wanted to, you can toggle near your photo or your picture and click stop video, and then you'll just be gone and we won't know it. If you don't care that we're staring at a blank screen, then go to the bathroom. If you do what I do, you just go to the bathroom wherever you're sitting in that moment. But most adults don't do that. I don't expect you to do that. So cool. All right, storyteller number 3, here we go. Brace yourselves. Our third storyteller this evening, I've learned from my other mistakes so that you can see. If there's like an office company, like an Office Depot type company that wants me to plug them, let me know and I'll plug you and I'll say that you did this ingenious work here. You were responsible for cutting these little things up. But for now, it's just me. Yes, Jennifer, Sean may need it depends. Our third storyteller this evening. I have not met this man. I'm happy he's joining us. He's from New Jersey, which is near where I grew up, which is the only thing that really matters. Aditya, when you're ready, unmute yourselves and yourself and break a leg.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Sean, for holding this space. So this story is called My Space Race. When I was a child, I wanted to go to space. My ceiling had thousands of the tiniest glow-in-the-dark stickers. Once laboriously applied, they represented all the stars and named constellations. The northern hemisphere laid above my pillow, and the southern hemisphere was splayed out above the foot of my bed. But on the long march to becoming 30, star stuff gave way to the stuff of life, some awful, some awe-inspiring, but all those struggles did their part to blot out the sky. And yet, a few weeks before my 30th birthday, there it was. From Jiten Dave, Wednesday, May 21st, 3:07 p.m. Hey cousin, greetings from sunny Los Angeles. Just wanted to share some good news. Our son Rohan reached the national finals of a middle school patch design contest sponsored by NASA. The winner's patch will be sewn into the suit of an astronaut traveling into space at the next launch. Voting ends on Saturday morning, so please try to vote if you can. Love, Jiten. A link to a SurveyMonkey site followed. I stared at the screen blankly for minutes, then twitched. Maybe I wouldn't get to the stars, and maybe neither would my nephew, but this patch, this piece of cloth stitched with my dream, maybe it could get to space. I was at work and dramatically explained to my coworkers why this mattered. This was a team that grew mustaches for Movember every year, so this was an easy sell. The idea caught fire and 40 votes were docked within the hour. That evening, I looked at the online scoreboard for the first time. The 4 patch finalists were laid out before me. Votes were 2, 11, 20, and 52. We were well in the lead with a girl or boy named Z Wang in second. I felt confident about Rohan's patch and even kind of bad for the one with 2 votes. Dylan's was a patch that evidently only a mother could love. I got into bed and tried voting on my phone. It was the second time that day, but it worked. I tried again and received the prompt informing me I'd already voted. Interesting. My eyes grew heavy as I looked out of my window at the sky. See you soon, I eked out, half dreaming. 2 more days till the stars. The next day, the whole family got involved. Mom and Dad's coworkers, my other cousins' 3rd graders, a few strangers from Metro Park, anyone who had listened to our story were logging in votes. When I got home from work, the scoreboard showed lots of movement. Well, mostly. Dylan only managed to get a 3rd vote, probably just his dad, but the rest of us were off to the races. 3, 25, 67, 102. We were still in front and in fact had increased our lead. But something about the score of 67 felt unsettling, made me feel unsafe. Did Z really triple his or her score in a day? I got out my phone and tried voting again. 103. On a hunch, I completely turned off my phone, turned it on again, and tried voting. 104. I'll spare you the exact details of what followed, but when I called my cousin immediately thereafter, words like cached memory, IP addresses, hard resets, and a bunch of other gibberish led us to a simple conclusion. This vote could be rigged. We both voted in tandem for about 2 hours until we reached 401. We didn't want a round number, and called it a night. Friday morning was the final full day of voting, and I half expected to see some kind of mercy rule applied. These were kids, after all. I checked the numbers to see if they had declared us the winner early, but I saw something else entirely. 3, 26, 401, 503. Somehow Z had overtaken us while we were sleeping. Well, not somehow, we all knew exactly how. Now, every time I refreshed the page, Z's votes kept jumping higher. 504, 506, 511, my face went hot. I frantically started voting, but couldn't keep pace. For each vote I made, there were 2 or 3 more votes going to Z. I gave up when I reached 500. Z was already at 750 and the votes climbed throughout the afternoon until reaching 1,000. There it hovered at twice our score, taunting me. I was shattered, hopeless, helpless. But then the phone rang. Jiten, Rohan's dad, had come up with a plan. We played dead for the whole day and gathered online as a family at 10 p.m. 8 of us across 4 cities. We were dialed into Ramesh Uncle's work conference line to communicate, but no one was speaking. Nothing needed to be said. 9:58, 9:59, 10 p.m. The clicking rumbled across the conference line. With Firefox, Chrome, and Internet Explorer open on all of our computers and iPhones, Samsung phones, Note tablets, and iPads flanking, we were an interconnected Indian-American mission control seemingly with enough technology to send an actual rocket into space. 45 minutes is all it took to approach 1,000, but now Z and many other Wangs were back on the site. Both patch tallies were rising at a feverish pace. This continued for hours, and around 1 a.m., some of our East Coast family and a few Wangs started to drop out. At 3 a.m., Jeetan and Rohan said they were going to sleep. That left just me and Z. I was out ahead by about 250 votes, and Z had slowed down to about 1 to 2 votes a minute, an easy clip to keep ahead of. At 4:30 a.m., Z stopped entirely. I didn't. I was ready to go to infinity and beyond. In the absolute dark of my room, the pale light of 4 screens made me feel like I was floating through complete deep space. Eventually, the sunrise broke me out of my spell. And by the 8 a.m. closing time, the scores were locked in. Dylan had 4. I'd felt a kinship with him during those lonely hours and ended up giving Dylan my final vote. Then 32, 3,047, and 12,555. Rohan, Z Wang, and their parents were called to the principal's office later that day, and an impassioned quasi-legal argument ensued about whether this was cheating or not. I haven't given that question much shrift. What I do know is we were trying to get to space, trying to claim something that has always been out of reach. And maybe dreams don't come true exactly as planned, but aim high, keep your loved ones close, and get there. Get there however you can. Rohan's patch returned to Earth this year. Its voyage reminds me that we came from the stars, and maybe more importantly, that we are not alone. Thank you.
Well done, Aditya.
Thanks.
So how did you find this group here? How did you find me or the event? I'm curious.
So I've just started getting a little bit into storytelling. I started a blog and joined the NYC Storytelling group on Facebook.
Yeah.
Which
And that was one of the many places I plastered this event, right?
Yeah, this is my first time doing, I guess, a competition. It's a weird feeling. I think everyone's doing an awesome job, and thank you so much.
Yeah, well, phenomenal job, first time. And especially, I don't know if it's harder or easier, but it's weird when you're alone and you're looking into a computer. You know, people talk about this all the time the past few months, but as your first one, huh? Now, is that background that you have a coincidence, or is that aligned with your...
Yeah, so I've created a book of these short stories. It started out as just an email in law school that I used to send to friends. Those stories were not very good, I'll be honest. I don't know.
Sure.
I'm sure you can always improve, but I've collected all of them, and I've been working with an illustrator. So the book is called Cheese Dosa, so you can actually see the little cheese wheel up there instead of a moon. And
Nice.
if you're familiar with dosa, it's a combination of something very American being cheese and something quite Indian, that being dosa as well.
Very cool. Interesting combo. And final question, and then we'll go on to our fourth and final storyteller of our first part. You're in Edison?
That's correct, yeah.
Edison? Okay, because I'm originally from Long Island, and I lived in the city for many years. And so any connection to that area has got a sweet spot in my heart. Because when I go back to visit, I'm just saying my ashes are going to be buried or going to be dropped or spread out somewhere around there. But it's a hustle, man.
Look forward to going to your funeral then, Sean. Is that too dark?
Absolutely. I can't wait for you to come to my funeral. You'll tell a story? You make a deal to tell a story there?
Sounds good.
Awesome. All right. Thanks again for telling, man.
Thank you again.
Cool. All right, guys. Everyone's doing really well. I noticed that we have 3 male judges, 1 male host, and it's just a coincidence that we have the women coming up later. I don't know. I don't know if I'm allowed to say stuff like that in 2020. I don't even know if that's okay, but whatever. Bring on the chicks, Jennifer says. Thank you, Jennifer. I appreciate it. So I can't look. it's the gods of the slam will decide. I have I could peek here and see the back, but I won't do it. Let me get this on my gallery here. All right, so our fourth storyteller this evening is going to be Steph Rogers. She lives near Jay. We didn't know that until a few minutes ago. Steph, when you're ready in your lovely suburban home, unmute yourself and we shall listen.
It's not cool to say lovely suburban. Now I just lost any little inkling of cool I ever had, which I didn't have much to begin with. Hi, everybody. It's the deep winter of 2014, and I have squeezed myself into a leotard and tights, like as if you were packing for a 6-week trip, but you only had a duffel bag. And I'm standing at the ballet bar, grasping for some sense of dignity. I have been assigned to this ballet class, my first in 30 years, because when I called the local dance studio to inquire about their offerings, I was asked, do you have any dance experience? And so I started to rattle off automatically my dance resume. Oh yes, I studied ballet as a child. I was in a dance troupe in college. And yes, I did hip hop in Los Angeles for 2 years, which is all kind of true, but we artist types, we're sort of prone to overselling ourselves just to get a gig. I'm in ballet class and my fellow classmates are 8 professional dancers and 2 child prodigies who are homeschooled because they are going to be dancers someday and they want to take this opportunity to be in class with professionals. So I am here for only one reason, because I have this incurable, horrible disease called tinnitus. And all of the loud rock bands I've been in for the last 30 years have pretty much destroyed my ears. I hear ringing all day, every single day. I've tried doctors, healers, raw food diets, meditation, like meditation, when you hear nothing but whoo all day, every day. Can you imagine? I've tried everything, all the programs. So now it's ballet. But I'm the oldest in the room by 2 decades. At least, and I am the fattest by at least 40 pounds. I don't really belong here. There's this snooty ballerina girl warming up next to me who has legs right all the way up to my neck. And lo and behold, on the other side of Snooty Long Legs is my friend's kid, Sophie Furfine. Hi, Mrs. Rogers, Sophie says to me as she leaps across the room. What are you doing here? And here is what I do not say to Sophie Furfine. Listen, Sophie, you do not have to be so positive all the time, pointing out, what am I doing here, asking me questions. I'm wondering the same goddamn thing myself, Sophie. And all I know is that I can never fall asleep at night because the ringing in my head is so unbearably loud. I just want one moment of joy and peace, so that is why I'm here. But what I do say to her is, Sophie, how's the homeschooling going? But I'm now getting a little worried because music, my elixir and my passion, can also bring a lot of harm to me and my ears. The lady on the phone told me that the music in class would not be too loud, but with these really sensitive ears, you just cannot trust someone else's definition of too loud. I once went to a folk concert thinking I would be safe. There were 3 little folk singers on a tiny stage and I'm way in the back and I was in agony all night long, and it wasn't because it was folk music. So the music in ballet class is actually very soothing, but the dancers are not soothing. I don't know if you know this, but dancers hate people who cannot dance, and they hate people who can dance. Dancers are haters and haters are mean. So Sophie and her friend, they just sort of stay by themselves, ignoring me, but everybody else redirects all of their self-loathing, self-hatred, and body dysmorphia onto me, onto their disgust for me. And Snooty Long Legs, she's like the biggest hater of them all. She just stares right at me and right at my old ass woman body. And the stares she gives me just further seal the fact that I am not what I once was. I had quit my job, my dream job, leading an event band, because my ears just could not bear it anymore. And it has been a parade of doctors and medicine and programs. And when I drive to all these appointments, my ears are further inflamed by the sound of honking horns around me. There have been moments where I have wondered if I could go on living like this. But today, I get myself to ballet class, hoping for a little bit of joy and peace. And I'm not gonna leave here without trying my damnedest. So I move back to the back of the classroom and I carve out my own little fat lady row back in the back. The tall ballerinas in front of me are like redwood trees blocking me from the mirror. So they can't see me and I can't see me, which is good. I am left to dance on my own and I don't even care about this class anymore. The music is just intoxicating and I'm finding some joy. So then Graka, the instructor, she announces that we have to line up. We're going to be going across the room, dancing the combination in pairs. Oh, fuck, I think. The closest person near me is Snooty Longlegs. And we both know that one of us is going to leap across the room elegantly and perfectly, and the other one is going to be a complete embarrassment to herself. So I think right then, I'm thinking, fuck this ballet class. I am a grown-ass woman. I do not have to put up with this shit. I'll say I have to go to the bathroom. I'll say I have to leave. I have an appointment. I don't have to stay here. But something stops me from doing any of that. And instead of bailing out right then and there, I find this unbelievable emboldenment. And I think, game on, ballerinas. I take my place next to Snooty Longlegs and the music begins. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And I dance. I dance my ass off. Not the combination we were to have learned, obviously, but my own choreographed creation. And I'm like a gazelle. I'm just seizing the moment to shine. I dance for every woman who has ever felt old and fat and hated on. I dance for everyone who's ever had an illness that no one can see and nobody understands. And as I cross the room, I turn my head to the exit door and I go out, making the most dramatic exit I've ever made. Because seriously, fuck ballet class. There are times when I just want to wallow in my own self-pity and sadness about what happened in my ears. I miss my job as an event band leader. I miss sitting in noisy restaurants. I miss going to movies. But there are times when I feel like I can just float across a room without a care in the world and not give one crap about what anybody thinks of me.
Boom. Stephanie Rogers. I didn't know that about you, Steph. I mean, I don't know most things about you.
Now you know. Now everybody knows.
But is that something that you typically don't share with people?
Well, it's not like a great conversation piece.
I mean, I guess it depends on the company you keep. Yeah. Context.
Not everybody, but you know, what happens with tinnitus actually is you habituate to it. So maybe there are other people in here who have it too. I mean, a lot of people have it very, very slightly. I had it very extreme, in the extreme, but you know, you habituate. So it kind of like, it's like wearing a watch all the time and you're wearing the watch and then you take it off and you're like, oh, I had a watch on all day. It's kind of like that.
Well, Jay says he also has it.
Oh,
and also in Chicago. So what the fuck is happening in Chicago is what I want to know. Can you explain that?
I cannot.
As always.
Are you in the music business, Jay? Your name sounds familiar.
Jay's muted, so you can briefly unmute yourself if you want to respond to Steph Rogers' question. She holds, yeah.
I can stop talking now. Thank you very much, everybody.
Yeah, good job.
Thanks.
Great job, clap, clap. Hey, so what I want to do now is invite you to use the bathroom, not mine, unless you're in North Carolina. Okay, you want to come over and use my toilet? That's fine. Relax, get yourself a drink, some green tea, some cookies, whatever you like to do. And for anybody who's not sharing a story this evening, if you would like to take a moment or two, 30 seconds, 40 seconds, and share a little anecdote, a vignette, or something like that, I think I'd certainly like to hear it. It would be a nice way to sort of segue over to part two. Ideally, it relates to struggle in some way, but it doesn't have to. So if you have an idea for that, please share, unmute yourself and share. Alternatively, you can put it in the chat, a couple of sentences, whatever you want to do. Our final four storytellers, we're not going to start yet for a couple more minutes, but just want them to know, make sure they're still with us. They still have a connection. Bhavana, Drew, Bob, and Richard. Here's what I'm going to ask you to do if you don't want to share with us a short story with your mouths or in the chat. I want you to make a prediction, if you would. You can unmute yourselves or put it in the chat. And the prediction is, what date will we return to whatever normal will look like? I'd like to see your predictions, please. Prediction is a number. It can't be shrugging shoulders. I know it's yeah. So is there a date in which as a country, I think everyone here is in the States, I'm not sure for sure, we will return to normal. I suppose it won't ever quite be like it was, but whatever the new normal will be. I will read them aloud. February 1st, 2021. This is kind of aligned with the theme of struggle, right? Like if you don't want to hear this, if it bums you out, this is the wrong event to be at. June 30th, 2021. January 1st, 2022. Bob Dancer, I hope you're wrong. We've got a lot of like early to mid 2021s. Kat's got a birthday on May 9th. And if it's that day, she's saying she needs gifts. I like the way you work that in, Kat. Get a couple extra gifts, maybe a card. Summer 2021. Okay. 2025, Kelly Richardson, who are you? And why are you saying that? If that's how you feel, it's cool. Got it. Cool. I'm going to just check in with my three judges and make sure that they are mentally, emotionally taken care of themselves, providing social support for one another. I know this being a judge is not an easy job. I'm asking these people to be judgmental. I'm asking them to assess your work, your craft, something you may have put a lot of time into, and they're simply giving it a number, which seems inherently unfair and mean. But this is what we do, and they do it very well. So judges, I'm giving them like another 30 seconds. You might want to follow Stephanie's thing where a quick meditation, maybe a hug or a kiss to your partner, if you have one. I don't, or I would, and I'm not bitter about that. All right, cool. Let us continue. John, Michael, and Andrew, we are going to start part 2 now. We've got 4 more storytellers, and then we will have some time after the last one for you guys to figure out who the winner is. And remember, at that time, I will also ask all of you to send me your winner. If you told a story, you can send a name, but you can't send your name. Deal? Cool. Here we go. Our 5th storyteller this evening. I got a 50-50 shot of them being from Las Vegas. I'm not much of a math man. Here we go. Storyteller number 5 this evening. Joining us from the great state, the 49th or 50th state of Hawaii, is Bhavana. Break a leg, Bhavana. Unmute yourself.
It was January of 2018, and I was just about to start my second year in Kauai. The compost toilet in the woods where I was living in a fancy little place, glamping, had overflowed not too long ago, and I was given notice to move out by the very rich, very angry, and very kind, and at the same time, very a-hole landlord is what he was known as. Welcome to the island. So around that time, an inner knowing in me said, renew your passport. And I was like, I'm not going to renew my passport. I've been traveling 8 years. I'm not renewing it. It's not expired. Renew your passport before you move out in March. February came and my kitty stopped eating. She was my child and my baby. I had her for almost 12 years. It was her first year in Kauai. She loved being out in the woods and sunbathing and chasing all kinds of mice in the tall grasses. And I knew that wasn't a good sign. About a week and a half later, she passed of sudden kidney failure. 3 days after, I moved into my new place with my very ill kitty on hospice. I moved into a home and then another home. It didn't stop raining and flooding and raining and flooding on the island for some time. Given the mass floods and the houses going up in water near the oceans, I was in a jungle type home that started to grow green fungus and black mold. I woke up one day sick with a fever and a cough. I checked into a resort that gave a kamiana, a local rate. My cat had passed on a month ago. My belongings were becoming ruined one by one. And I was homeless, but I was in a nice resort. 3 days after my kitty passed away, flashback. She came on my back on all fours when I was at the chiropractor and said, go to India, you're free. I didn't listen. The passport had not been renewed and I didn't have a ticket to India. And this time I listened. If you want to know how to get out of the country in a week, I can tell you how. I got that passport renewed. I threw away what I could, and I basically gave away many things to a gal who lost things in the flood. And I told a friend that night when I was sick with fever, burning up with anger with these landlords, and sad with grief, that you don't have, all I have really is these Indian clothes left over from my dead aunts and grandmothers, and a little bit of jewelry from my poor grandmothers. They're all gone. And he said, that's all you need. So I went off to India. And that same voice said, stay in India by May 27th and leave. Get a ticket and stay that long. I booked a flight for January 7th. Then I got to India and I followed the voices of those dead grandmothers that had a story to tell to help me with that grief. So it came upon the end of my trip and I was invited to a small rural village, very poor, to visit a grandmother. I knew that that was a sign because I had asked God to take me to that original moment where I left my grandmother at the bottom of the plane and I never saw her again. I was about 42 years old. In that village, I was told to stay 1 or 2 days. There's that voice. This whole experience taught me to always, always, always listen to that voice. The 5th day in the village, I caught a fever and a dysentery and a dehydration, and I knew I was a goner unless I got out of there ASAP. I had a flight back to Delhi, and all of the universe, the angels, whatever force you believe in, lined up for my survival, from struggle to triumph. I got on the plane the next morning. The cab driver arrived 2 hours early at 5 a.m. That was a sign. I got to Delhi, and this voice said, you have to go in the hospital. I didn't listen. I didn't want to go alone, and I wasn't meant to go alone and do it alone for all of my life struggling. I finally showed up at a family member's house. that I hadn't seen in a month. I called her and said, I'm not well. Why didn't you call me? And I fell asleep at her home, woken up in the middle of the night by her doctor friend who said, you have to come to my ER now. Everyone packed me up, the whole family. And in that hospital, I healed. I was given antibiotics and fluids. I came back to Kauai. It was Saturday. Tuesday, I had a flight back to California, resting a few days, which I already knew I would do. I came back off the plane. This is a place to be if you would like to survive. Back in the hospital. And I got the fluids again. And I was hovering over myself in pale pink, and I was told, it's all about love. Love will keep you on the earth. I didn't have belongings, a kitty. I didn't know about my boyfriend. I didn't have a home. I didn't have my health, but I had love. And I took that love in. And there was a man in the ER who was also in for dehydration, who ran my numbers. He was a master numerologist. It's like he appeared out of the blue. I had met him once before I went to India, and he said, you are all in endings. You are starting in 2020, new beginnings. You are reinventing yourself. That was a small glimmer of hope. It took about 8 to 10 months to recover. This time, the voice, I'm completing this one story and into my new beginning now, this story and that story on Zoom, and that story. It's coming to a completion. This time, the voice said, after I said, I need a home. I need a home on Kauai. I need a home anywhere. I think I'm supposed to stay here and do my mission here and be happy and serve people. The voice said, dear one, your home will be ready in 9 months. Put me somewhere, I said. And I was put in a home when I decided every person is prosperous on the earth. The poorest of poor villagers, the wealthy of the wealthy. A home came up and I rented a home. And then I was told, you'll be here 4 months. Again, I'm moving. This is my 7th or 8th time. I can't count. 4 months later, I stepped on the land of a home some people I knew were renovating. I had met those people 2 years before my 2nd week on the island. And I knew that was going to be my home. I recovered. I'm thriving from struggle to triumph. I live in the home. I'm growing a veggie garden. My health is better than ever. I look as young as ever. People are coming from all over to help me with the garden. I have people that I serve all over the world, and I encourage their story of love and their commitment to thriving from fear, from struggle, into happiness and joy, courage, and the most amazing bliss that they can experience, because I am experiencing it and I'm just getting started. Thank you.
Nice, Bhavana. Great job. Where are you right now? Are you in a small plane?
I'm in my new SUV car. I'm doing errands and I didn't make it up the hill. So I parked under some beautiful trees.
Great choice. That's so Hawaii.
So high. They're eating, their lawnmowers to this land. And there's mountains way in the distance and palm trees. So I'm in a cozy little spot till I make it up the hill later after we are
That's so
done.
cool. We got a little tour of Hawaii, which everybody here is, most people are from different places. I've been to some of them, but without a doubt, yours is the most beautiful. And I know Howard won't agree because he Stillwater is stunning, but Hawaii is out of this world. So, yeah. And thanks for sharing that story. Are you hearing me okay?
Yep, I hear you. You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you. I think you're on a little bit of a delay. It's cool.
Okay.
I don't expect you for me to keep your attention with all that beauty surrounding you. It's cool. I'm over it. We're good. So, all right, Bhavana. So are you going to stay with us? Because, the scores are going to take another little time here. So you're going to hang out?
I'm here.
Great. All right, cool. The judges are judging. Our sixth storyteller this evening. We got started a little late, primarily because I kept talking. I know that. People are nodding their heads. And I'll knock points off your score right now if you keep nodding your effing heads, okay? I've got that kind of power. That said, I want to keep it moving. I don't want to have people on here longer than they thought they would be. Point taken, noted. Our sixth storyteller this evening, who I have never met. I am looking forward to talking to him after his story, and I'm not sure where he is Drew. Drew, when you can, unmute yourself and break a leg.
Hi. Well, this story is about my struggle with the fear of AIDS. And in the early 90s, I was working as a recreation therapist at a state psychiatric hospital and working with adult clients and people whose hygiene was not very good. And they'd want to come up to shake hands and this kind of thing. And I was really concerned about that. And I remember talking to nurses. One time there was something that happened. I got cut. It involved some incident with the patient. And I talked to the nurse, and I shared with this nurse about that fear, that concern. And she said to me, Drew, anything is possible, but is it likely? And so I began to learn to live with the tension of that, the risk of that. Now, at the same time, I was experimenting with storytelling and gathering stories to tell, traditional stories and biblical stories. And there was the story of the Fisher King, the one that Robin Williams told in that movie. And so I learned it and adapted it. And when the opportunity arose as a recreation therapist, I'd try storytelling with the patients. And so one time I was in the men's ward, and a number of the men sat down, and I told them this story. And it goes like this. A long, long time ago in a land far away, it was the custom of the people that before a child could be received as an adult in the community, that child had to spend a night in the forest. Well, this story is about a child who one day would become king. And so there he was in the deepest part of the forest at the darkest time of the night with only a fire as a companion. When he was visited by this vision, for there in the fire was the image of a beautiful cup. And he heard this voice. You shall be the guardian of the grail, for by it shall come healing to all the people. Well, that boy was filled with visions of grandeur and an adventure, and he reached into the fire to seize hold of his destiny. And at that very instant, the cup disappeared, and his hands were caught in the flames, and he was severely burned. Well, he survived the ordeal of the night, and in time he became king. But the wounds on his hands never healed, and the shame that he felt for his thoughtless act never went away. And so in time he became king. And he tried to be a good king. But there was border disputes and broken treaties and war and famine. And the king lost faith in people because he first lost faith in himself. And he began to die. Well, the people were concerned, and they urged the warriors to go out and search for the Holy Grail. And they went north and south, east and west, and they didn't find it right away. And it became less of an effort to save their king and more of a competition to see who would be first, and therefore the greatest celebrity in the land. And this only confirmed the king's worst suspicions about people, and his condition grew worse. Well, the people invited entertainers to cheer up the king, and there were singers and dancers and storytellers, and this one little clown. Her jokes weren't very funny, but people usually felt sorry for her, and they gave her something to eat and a safe place to stay. And so she was wandering through the corridors of the palace, and she came into this one room with beautiful tapestries and a canopied bed. It was the bedchamber of the king himself. And not knowing any better, she walked over to this man who was lying there, and she said, "Are you okay? Can I help you?" The man who was really the king said, "I could sure use a glass of water to cool my parched throat." Well, she took a pitcher from the bedstand, she poured in a glass, poured some water into the glass and gave it to the king. He took it and he drank it down, and immediately he was refreshed. And then he looked at what he held in his hand, and it was the beautiful cup from the vision of his youth. And he pushed back the bandages on his hands, and the wounds were healed. And he said, "How did you do this? How did you do what my brightest and bravest failed to do?" And the little clown was frightened. She said, "I don't know. I only knew that you were thirsty." And as I finished the story, one of the patients ran out, and he came back with a little paper cup that they use for their medicine in the morning. It was filled with water, and he gave it to me, and I took it and I drank it down. And I said, "Bill, where did you get this cup?" And he said, "Oh, I found it in the garbage, but don't worry, I washed it out first." And that's how I was cured from my fear of AIDS.
Thanks, Drew.
Thank you.
Hey, Drew, thank you for sharing that. Where are you? Where are you located?
I'm in Florida, but I grew up in Plainfield, which is right next to Edison.
Jersey guy.
Jersey. Yeah.
What part of Florida are you in?
North Central, Wildwood, which is just south of the Villages. That's a big retirement community.
You like it?
I do. I love the area. White birds and palm trees, just like Hawaii. It's a nice break. It's beautiful here.
That's cool. Thanks for sharing that and finding the event and choosing to tell.
Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Definitely. All right, man. All right, guys, we're going to keep it moving along because I know we're going to get a little tight on time. We only got 2 guys left. They're both in Vegas. Does it sound or feel a little suspicious? I think it does. 2 guys left, 2 people left. They're both in Vegas. And as a side, I'm not going to get into their whole gambling careers, but it's not, I understand if there's going to be some pushback here, but I promise you it just worked out this way. It just worked out this way. Here we go. Our 7th and second to last storyteller this evening. As stated from Vegas, Richard Munchkin. Sir, unmute yourself and break a leg.
Hear me okay? It's 6 a.m. and I walk onto a movie set for the first time in my life. I'm 18 years old and I'm just an extra, but I am thrilled to be there. There's guys with big lights and a camera that says Panavision, and this is, you know, I dream of this. And so the AD comes to me and he goes, "So we're going to put you in the first scene." And I'm like, "Great, I'm in a scene." And they take me into this building and there are some steps leading up. You open the door and there's a foyer. And he says, there's a cop actor cop standing there. And he says, "So you're standing here talking to this guy," and he points at me and he goes, "You're like the maintenance man in this building." And the main character is going to come through this door and the cop is going to stop him and say, "Hey, wait a minute, where are you going?" And he says, "Oh, I have some papers for Detective so-and-so because there's a murder that happened in the floor above." And the cop says, "Okay," and we all turn and we walk up the stairs. And I'm thinking, oh man, this is great. I'm not just going to be one of 50 people in a restaurant. I actually have a scene and the main character of the movie. This guy, his name is Sparrow, and it's an ABC movie of the week called Sparrow. So they put me in costume and makeup, and I'm there with the cop, and the director says, "Okay, action." And now we're waiting for the Sparrow to come through the door. And we're waiting. So the cop goes, "So where were you when the murder happened?" And I'm waiting. And I say, "Well, I went across the street for a cup of coffee. And when I came back, the door was unlocked. And boom, the door opens. There's Sparrow. "Hey, where are you going?" Blah, blah, blah. And so they say, "Cut." And we go, "Okay, let's do it again." And we start again. So the cop, he says, "Action." And the cop goes, "So where were you?" And I said, "I went across the street for a cup of coffee. And when I came back, the door was open." And here comes Sparrow. Boom. "Hey, where are you going?" And we do this take 3, take 4. And in my mind, I'm thinking, oh my God, I have hit the jackpot. What every actor struggles for is a SAG card. SAG is the Screen Actors Guild, and you can't get a SAG card. The only way you can get a SAG card is if you have a part in a SAG movie. And you can't have a part in a SAG movie unless you already have a SAG card. So this is every actor's dream when they're starting out. I got to get that SAG card. And here, I know if one single word that I say makes it into this movie, I'm in. So we do take 5, take 6, and now I see the assistant director say something to the director, and the director says, take 5, everybody. And he points at me, he goes, you. And I go over to the director, and he goes, you see him? And he points over at the cop. And I go, yeah? And he goes, he's an actor. You're an extra. You know what the difference is? And of course I do, but I go, no. And he says, that means he gets to talk and you don't. And I said, well, he asked me where I went and nothing was happening. So, you know, what do you want me to do? Just like not answer and just stand there? Or should I move my lips but not have any sound comes out? And he goes, yeah, do that. So I go, okay. I mean, it's going to look dumb, but okay. So we come back and he says, where were you when the murder happened? And I go, and here comes Sparrow. Hey, where are you going? And, you know. So anyway, we finish the scene. And they say, hang around. We don't know. Maybe we'll use you again. I end up there all day. I'm there for 13 hours. They never use me again, but that's fine. I'm happy. I'm happy to be there and meeting people and seeing how movie stuff works. And so now it's time for the debut on ABC, Movie of the Week. And I tell my mom and dad I'm living at home, and well, they tell their parents, and I tell a few friends, and the next thing I know, there's 50 people in my living room waiting for this movie to start. And so the movie starts, and here comes Sparrow down the street, and I say, this is it. As soon as he opens that door, I'm right on the other side. And he opens the door, and it cuts to the room where the murder happened. They had cut me out of the movie completely. So, of course, I was humiliated and embarrassed with all those people there. But I had a check for $35 for my 13 hours of work. And in my mind, that meant I was now a professional actor. Thank you.
Bravo, Richard Munchkin.
Thanks.
Did you ever get your SAG card?
Oh, yeah, eventually. It took years. It took years, but eventually I did.
I bet there are some good stories there as well.
Yeah.
I'm sure. Is there anything we need to know about in the world of Vegas? If perhaps somebody's feeling like they want to take a road trip and lose some money, stay home.
Stay home. We're spiking, not as bad as Florida and Texas, but we're spiking. The hospitals are going to hit full capacity in a day or two.
Right.
So I would say do not risk it.
Now, but you would also say for people to stay home and don't come to Vegas if they plan on gambling, right? Because they're going to lose money, typically.
Well, yeah, but, you know, I mean, in normal times, there are great shows and stuff here. So, you know.
That's true, too. It's interesting. My mind goes to the gambling, and there's all sorts of other stuff that goes on.
Yeah, yeah.
Cool. And that was when you were a teenager, right? That story happened?
Yeah, I was 18 when that happened.
Is there any place that we can find that non-Richard scene? I'd love to see it.
You know what? I have no idea. I mean, it was called Sparrow. You could look at it.
I believe you. I'm not doing it to check on the validity of the story.
I mean, I think it came out, I think the movie came out in 1978, maybe.
Okay.
So, you know, I mean, it must be in a vault somewhere, but I doubt they show it anywhere anymore.
I just want to watch it and like just tell somebody like, oh, that's the scene that I know this guy. Trust me, he was almost in that scene.
And just for all the Chicago people here, the building was right next door to Pizzeria Uno on Ohio Street.
All right, cool. Sweet. So Chicago/Vegas connection. I am sure almost everybody on this call has some story, particularly around Vegas. Perhaps for another time. Maybe that's a theme for a future slam. Who knows? Thank you, Richard. Great job.
Thank you.
All right, our final storyteller. There is no surprise here. I have no way to make a surprise, create surprise or suspense. Is Bob Dancer. Bob is also in Las Vegas. Let's give him a moment or two. Let's give our judges a moment or two. He's our final storyteller. And remember, everybody, afterwards, you're going to send me a private message with your favorite storyteller. Okay, so thanks in advance for that. And Bob, when you're ready, it looks like you're muted. So break a leg, sir.
I was in the coffee room. It's my turn to use the machine. Get out of my way. Nobody knew why I was yelling. I didn't know why I was yelling. I was a project leader in the computer department of an insurance company in Los Angeles, 1985. People didn't raise their voices there, but for some reason I did. And things were going very fast. I didn't understand what was happening, so I was yelling at people, and they knew I had to go to the hospital. And the only question was, were they going to take me themselves or were they going to get an ambulance? And they didn't know because I might hit somebody because this was uncharted territory. And a voice said, "I'll take him. I'm not afraid." It was Big Mike. Mike's my best friend there. 10 years ago, he was defensive lineman for Ohio State Buckeye football team. He was not afraid of me. So he took me. We talked waiting about Dodger baseball, Laker basketball. Life was good for a Los Angeles sports fan in those days. I decided things are calmed down. I'll go back to work. Mike says, "No. You had a problem today. You're going to the hospital, whether I put you there or you walk in." So I went in, he left. They poked me, prodded me, gave me all kinds of tests, brain scans, interviews with psychiatrists, psychologists, all kinds of stuff. The treatment they did, they didn't tell me it was coming. They gave me lots of tranquilizers, put me to sleep for 2 days. When I woke up, my brain was functioning again. They said sometimes these neurological blips happen, and the best thing to do is to rest. A good healing thing is to be out of doors, exercise gently, and I should be okay. It'll probably never happen again. So the next 2 days, I walked through the Santa Monica Mountains by myself. I didn't want to tell anybody. I was embarrassed that I was the kind of person who would have a nervous breakdown. I didn't think I was that kind of a person. But I was looking forward to going back to work. These people were my friends. My work was also my social life. This is going to be good. They would forgive me for this minor blip. I was wrong. They treated me like they didn't know what to do with me. Everybody was walking on tiptoes, afraid to say anything in case I would explode again. This was upsetting. My social life was gone. These are my friends. Why are they treating me this way? Everybody can have a bad day. And got worse. 2 weeks later, someone stole a cross pen that was engraved. My father gave it to me when I graduated with my master's degree. It was important to me, and somebody took it. I think could have lost it. I don't think so. And then a few days later, I was going to give a report in front of all the bosses about a project, staffing requirements, how long it would take. I went to the restroom to clean up just before it. When I came back, coffee was spilled all over the handouts. So I had to use sloppy handouts, pass them around to everybody, took me off my game. And the worst one, picked up the phone, and there was Vaseline on the earpiece. It was like, oh, I had a problem, but I was not crazy. I was not paranoid, and yet somebody there was not happy to see me. So Mike and I went out to a drink, told him what happened. He said, "It reminds me of Henry." I don't know who Henry is. For your time, Henry worked here like you. He had great reviews. Henry was gay. They allowed to have a token gay guy as long as he wasn't too gay. But then pink shirts, purple bow ties, that was the limit. They went around and told people, if you can talk him into leaving, we'll give you an extra vacation day. How do you know this, Mike? I was one of the ones they asked. I told them to take their vacation day and shove it. I don't know that that's what happened, but it sounds familiar. We decided I would leave. He would write me a recommendation. I got a new job. When I gave my letter of notice, I was walked to the door by security. And that happened 35 years ago. Still haven't told many people. My wife of 6 years just heard about it. My previous wife of 17 years never knew about it. I wonder, the first time it happened wasn't any fun. I have a dread what's going to happen if it happens again. Thank you.
Yes, Bob Dancer. The boys from Vegas are bringing the heat. That is the best poetry I have created in quite a long time. Great job, Bob.
Thank you.
Yeah. Wow. The images or the way you shared that about what they did to you or what you presume they did were quite powerful. Yeah. All right, so our judges are judging. We're going to come up with a score for the winner. In the meantime, would you all please take a few moments, think about who your favorite storyteller was. You get to use any system of scoring you want. You're not even giving a score. You're sending me one name, and whoever has the most numbers of a win, it will be second place. And if it happens to be the same person that has the highest score from the judges, then I'll choose the second most. It's an easy system. So let's take a couple of minutes. When you're ready, send me just one name. And what I'll do, please don't vote for yourself. Just to
What if you spell your name backwards? Then can you vote for yourself?
No. So real quick, I don't know if this is going to be much of a help. Drew shared a story relating to AIDS, Richard about a movie he was almost in, Bob about a breakdown. That's the right word. Sorry if it's not Bob. Bhavana, struggle to find yourself. Aditya had a struggle around gains. Jay about a friend who needed a fix, sort of. Howard about a friend who's dealing with being gay. I know these aren't really what the stories were about, but they're more words that might help people remember them. And Steph had a thing with her ear. I apologize for grossly simplifying your struggles. When you're ready, send me the names. I will do some tallying, and the judges will as well. And then we'll tell you who won. We'll tell you who came in second, and then we'll congratulate everybody because you all did great. And it's not an easy thing to do, particularly these kinds of stories. And it is different when you're alone or you're doing it to a computer. So I respect and appreciate you all for doing that. If I had some Muzak type music, I would play it right now. All right, I'm starting to get some names, so keep sending them. Please. So, John.
Did you promise to dance, Sean?
I think I said there was never a promise.
It was a pole dance. A pole dance. I heard it.
Unfortunately, wouldn't you know it, my pole is just a little bit broken. Not broken.
What about a Romanian dance?
I think it's a little unsafe Jennifer Kidd, of course, wants to dance. I'll show you. Yeah, let me tell you something right now. You joke about this. If I did it, you'd be like, what the fuck is happening? What are you doing? So I know it's
Bob, I got your humor.
Yeah.
It went over his head, but I caught the humor, Bob.
I didn't even hear him. I'm so focused on just tallying right now. Hey, I've got about 13, which means there are at least 5, 6, 7 of you that haven't. So please, let me tell you something. Second place is tight. I'm going to have to look at my votes again. I'm going to do that. I know this doesn't make for particularly interesting Zooming. Just take a moment, do your thing.
So I asked her if she lived in Vegas and if she's Rooster's friend. She goes, yep. She and her husband once came to Improv, so I did recognize her.
Yeah, you did. Yes, I did once. Yeah.
You're not muted, Bob. Now you are.
All right, we're going to give it like maybe a minute more. Send your answers. Most people have voted. It's really freaking close for second place. Now, it might be a good time to say if our first place winner can't, what's the word I'm looking for when beauty pageant contestants can't accept or what's the verb here? Help me. When the runner-up
Forfeit, maybe they forfeit or they
right, like sometimes
can't fulfill the duties of winning.
Damn it. I can't stand when I forget those words. When if first place, for whatever reason, no judgments, can't fulfill the duties of being a winner, then our second place winner will be named. I'm checking the winner right now, and I believe, wow. Holy moly. All right, I'm just checking with the judges. I'm sorry if I'm being, so winner and interesting. All right. I know this is a little bit like, wow. All right, so our judges have just shared with me the winner, and it is, quote, by a nose. And I do want to get you that score. And then we're going to get on with our evenings, aren't we? Howard, do not do that with your head. I know what you're doing. So, wow. So we have our winner with an average score of 9.3, drum roll please, is Bob Dancer. Yeah!
The look on your face was worth the price of admission.
I figured I would lucky to get third or fourth. There were so many good stories there.
Great job, Bob.
Wow, thank you.
Yep. And we have a three-way tie for second. And what the difference is, and I didn't tell you this in advance, which makes me a really shitty host. But the tiebreaker for third place is somebody new to this world. Like if I don't know you, you have a slight edge just because like, thanks for showing up and doing this. So our second place finisher this evening is from Edison, New Jersey, Aditya. Give it up.
There's a girl.
No.
Congrats, Aditya.
Yeah, that's a weird way to edge everyone else out. I feel like they're not going to like me much.
No, I just
Thank you so much, guys.
like, man, I probably like threw him under the bus. No, I mean, so look, second place where there was a three-way tie, and two of the people, they're doing this all the time, which some people would say you might want to reward them for showing up all the time. But me and my slightly jaded New York style wants to be, I don't know, more acerbic and negative about just. And so good, but I'm glad that you came and you told a good story. So
awesome.
there is a very modest prize for both of you, and I will convene with you. Notice how I never announced the prize publicly? Notice that?
What was first prize?
I always get with them after, and we work it out. Because when I say modest, I really mean modest. So I'm going to just put in the chat, just if any of you don't know, if you found this event this evening, you probably know that any events we do are currently housed under the Facebook group of Life in the Time of Corona. Next week on Tuesday evening, we have something called the Story Flash. So several people who are here have been on that. It's a lot of fun. It's sort of improvisation and storytelling, a good time. And then our next event, 7x7 event, will be on the 28th. So I'll let you all know about that and what we're planning for that. We're going to do some things a little bit differently. And I'm going to sort of formally end our evening together and thank you all, our 8 storytellers, our winner, Bob Dancer, and everyone did a really good job. Our 3 judges, John, Andrew, and Michael, and everybody else who came and listened and watched. So now's the time to disappear and enjoy the rest of your evenings. And if you want to hang out, I do this with most of our events. I'm going to hang out. Zoom's going to be on, and we talk story, we talk shop, we vent, we complain, we whine, we do all sorts of fun stuff. So I welcome you to do that. And if some of the storytellers are around, you can ask them questions about your story. Okay, cool. Thanks, y'all. Now you can unmute yourselves if you want. And if you want to, now nobody wants to be a sore loser, but if you want to be a sore loser, I want to hear it. Publicly be a sore loser. Don't bring.
You should tell us who the other 2 that were originally tied for second were.
Yeah.
Wow.
Can we guess?
Yep.
Guess out loud?
Nah, that's gonna get weird.
Yeah.
That could get weird. It was Howard and Richard.
Munchkin, yeah.
And then you all had 3 votes. And then a few people had 2 votes. A couple had 1 vote. Bye, Michael. If you have to go. John, if you're here and you can hang out a bit, that'd be cool. Andrew.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, Baba.
See,
Have a great night,
I actually had 3 devices. I took Aditya's suggestion, and those 3 votes all came from me on different devices.
It's an
Steph, what snotty suburb do you live in, Steph?
It's called Wilmette.
That is a snotty suburb. I lived a little while in Highland Park.
I mean, it's not really. That's not. I mean, it's a good mix. It's a good mix. I think it's a good mix.
Well, that's a good. I'm being snarky.
It's
not Winnetka or Lake Forest. It's not like
that.
It's
very nice. It's very, very nice. It's much better than where we were in the city. We lived in a really gang infested neighborhood in the city, and there's nothing here. It's very quiet, peaceful. I love it.
Is that where the Baha'i Center is?
That's Evanston.
I knew I heard of it.
No, that's in
I thought
Wilmette.
that was in Evanston. No?
No, it's actually Wilmette. Yeah.
You go up Sheridan Road, right there.
Yeah.
And if you ever have the chance to drop LSD and walk along the beach and see at night and see the Baha'i Temple in the background, that's a special moment. Trust me, I know from experience.
Uncle Howard.
Talking Chicago.
Yeah.
Cool. Yes, that's an interesting Chicago connection here.
Yeah, so Jay and I are like, Skokie is the next, just west of Wilmette. So kind of like they kind of connect together. So we must be really close to each other.
I actually went to high school in Wilmette.
High school?
Yeah.
Did you go to
Pardon?
Did you go to Loyola, the Catholic boys' school?
Yeah, I did.
Uh-huh.
That's where you went if you were bad.
Yeah. You're the bad boy.
Either you were an athlete or you were really bad, right?
No, I was. Yeah, I was. It was more of a family thing. My dad insisted that I had to go to a Catholic school. He did not trust public education, so he preferred to go into massive debt so that I could go to a Catholic high school instead of going. And then also they expected me to play hockey, and then I destroyed my knee at a kegger, so that was out the window.
That's the next story.
I just destroyed my knee busting a move to Young MC. For real. Tore it up. I'm on crutches. It's a mess.
So when I went to Oakton Community College when they first opened, and they were just over the border in Morton Grove, and we had no theater, so we used the Skokie Public Library Theater to do shows in.
It's still a fantastic facility.
Oh,
and
yeah.
That's one of the places we've been able to maintain the area. People in Skokie don't seem to mind paying a little more taxes for the library. So I'm happy about that. I'm a book guy, so.
Cool.
Jay, I met my first true love at Old Orchard. I'll always have a special place in my heart.
You did what, Howard?
I met my first true love at Old Orchard.
Oh my gosh. Over there at Marshall Fields?
Just in between, the areas in between. Her name is Dottie Newman.
Dottie Newman.
That's all. Story's over. Story's over.
Great focal point for a lot of people. Everybody's got something.
You don't know. You know just a little inkling of my early life.
Yeah, Andrew.
Hey, Sean. So I'm curious because I just started tuning into these things. How did you start this whole thing? Tell us the story of this entire thing. You just get bored during COVID or what?
I don't know if I'm necessarily going to tell you in a story format per se, because I've got some tough judges out there. But it really was just something that it was in mid-March, and I was just not sure how to use my time. I had lost some work and thought it would be a good thing. You know, if you notice, I didn't name it like the story group. It was Life in the Time of Corona, because I just thought it would be a good space for people to connect in whatever way they needed to.
Yeah.
And then because of my interest in story, it seemed like a really good thing, a way to sort of be a vehicle within that. I don't know if that makes sense. So I started doing events and connecting with people, a lot of stalking, man. I got really good at stalking people. Fucking seriously. Like half the people on here I've stalked, and they know that. They know that, so it's not illegal or anything.
Yeah. It's really cool because it's I really miss, of course, Sean and I act together, and I miss the stage, and this is kind of I miss watching it. You can't go to the theater now. This is sort of like a way to still participate in that, I feel like.
Yeah.
In a sort of way,
Something.
you know.
Yeah. And then to complete the answer, I was just playing around with different things, and I just settled on what it's ultimately become, which is this stuff and the curated event, and the Story Flash has been probably the most popular of all of them. So if you guys haven't checked that out, it's a lot of fun. A few people on here know that. I think that they would agree. If you have other ideas, by the way, not about the amount I talk, that's something that won't change much, but in terms of events, ways events are done, new ideas for events. Like I've got the Zoom thing, right? I'm paying for it, and I've got time, so I'm happy to entertain ideas and leverage the tiny bit of pull I have. And then I also have Stephanie on here who knows like half the storytelling world, and
we could
Howard knows 90% of the storytelling world.
You do
dance performances.
If we can marry dance and story.
Yeah. I might break my leg.
You can. There's a something called Patrick's Cabaret, and it's named after Patrick Scully. And Patrick's Cabaret was a performance venue for at least the last 30 years in Minneapolis. And a little history, in its last incarnation, it was directly next to the 3rd Precinct in Minneapolis that got burned down recently. And the Cabaret building is still intact, but it's not the Cabaret. The Cabaret is not the Cabaret there anymore, but Patrick was a very dear friend, and I was on the board of the Cabaret for probably 15 years. He started doing Patrick's Cabaret again, and you can look for it on Facebook, and it's just Patrick Apostles Cabaret.
Oh!
And he incorporates dance and storytelling. A lot of his LBGT QA, and Patrick's always been a gay activist, and it's you'll see that. I mean, he did one he did Queer Boys Night the other Friday, and it was all involved dance and story and really obscenely pornographic art. But when I say it's obscenely pornographic, trust me, it's obscenely pornographic, and it's really good. And you can do a lot. Sean, I would like to see some duets. I would like to see some slightly improv story duets.
All right.
Where you've got.
But how do we make that true stories?
How do I make that true stories? Easy.
Well, we don't have
an idea.
Sharon, hello. It's about time you showed up.
You can cut.
You can
get
say
people that you're
Stephanie,
telling the story about to join in.
Sharon Eisner's here. She's a regular, but she was tied up.
I'm sorry, I missed your stories.
Stephanie.
What?
You want me to tell you?
Yeah. What were you saying?
In my scoring system, which is clearly imperfect, the person who gets the most points from the judges wins, and that was Bob Dancer. The person who gets the person who gets second place is whoever the audience votes for. Second place in the judges means nothing. And that, unfortunately, was you. You mean not nothing. You mean way more than nothing. But if you're second place for the judges, the way I'm doing it.
You a compliment.
I'm not sure. I still don't grasp it. So.
Hang on. I'll tell you. Bob Dancer had the highest score according to the judges. He's the winner. The person who comes in second is the person that the audience votes for. That was a 3-way tie. And I made that weird, and I chose Atiyah because he was I like him the most. I'm very partial, right? But hang on. But you were in the unfortunate position of being the second place of the judges' vote.
Okay.
And it's inherently imperfect and unfair. And I'm sorry because you deserve more. But you can't win the modest prize today. And meanwhile, you won the slam a couple times ago and you didn't accept the damn prize. So we're done here.
By the way, Steph.
Maybe we need 3 winners.
I voted for you. I liked your story a lot.
Howard, I voted for you.
Oh, jeez. Look at
this prize.
And I voted for Jay and Drew and Richard.
How did you vote for 3 people?
All right, now we should really go back and look at that. I should have been clearer. 1 vote.
I voted for Howard because, that being early on in the show kind of always sucks. And I knew, and Howard had a great story. Everybody had a great story, but I felt like Howard wasn't going to get recognized enough for his great stories. So I gave you. Who went first? Did you go first or who?
Howard went first.
I went first.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Stephanie, I voted for you.
Thank you. It's like we're all telling each other how sorry we feel for each other.
Well,
I voted for Sharon. I voted for Sharon. That's what I did. I voted for Sharon.
Me?
Yeah. always vote for you.
I was absent.
So what?
You deserve to vote, though.
There was something metaphysical about your absence that really.
I was telling wonderful stories, just not here. It's true. It's all true. Thank you for recognizing that.
Now we can only wonder where Bob Dancer went to celebrate his victory, perhaps.
What does he
I
get?
gotta go, but
Yeah, what is this prize, Sean? What is this prize?
Modest.
Like
Modesty? You're going to show some modesty? That's our prize?
Probably
Finally?
Bob took the all expenses paid trip to Las Vegas.
I've got to keep some things a little bit secretive here, you know? This is an important component of storytelling, so I'm being quite meta here.
I think you're
Can't
doing
know everything always.
for him.
What?
I think
You
you're
don't
doing
really know what the prize is, do you?
dance is happening.
You don't know.
Wait,
You're
Elena Beth,
clueless.
are you agreeing with Jennifer that I don't even know what the prize is?
No, I'm saying you're dancing for him.
Oh, yeah, that's the prize.
But that's going to be like a one-on-one type Zoom.
Oh, Lord. Lordy, Lordy.
I don't think it's going to be Bob Dancer's first lap dance, okay? Just saying. Like, let's just keep things real here. The dude lives in Vegas.
guys, I'll see you. It was nice.
Thanks,
nice
Drew.
meeting you all. Love the stories. And,
You too. Thank you so much.
Thank
See
you.
you
You're
next time,
welcome.
Drew.
Thanks, Drew.
See you another time there. Yes.
Sir, take care.
Bye.
I'm gonna go too, and
Bye, Annabeth.
I'll come early another time. I thought, oh well, it's too late, and I wasn't even thinking about it. And then you
Next
said,
time.
oh well, you'd still put it in, and I had just gotten to, okay, I'm gonna write to him, and you said, and now that's the end of.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. I was like just about to say, Sean.
Yeah, I've got to have, at least some point I have to say that's it.
Oh yeah.
That was it.
So I was able to just enjoy without thinking about any other story.
Yeah,
Thank you all.
yeah.
This was a very good night. I enjoyed all the stories very much.
It really was.
And
By the way, it's really interesting, I find, for both the other events that we've been doing, like the 7x7s and the slams, like 70% of people, more or less, just can't stay under time. It's a thing.
I
Like, no
was
matter
wondering
what,
about that. You weren't
always go
announcing the
over
times.
Over and over.
how
What is
did
the
I do on
time?
time? How did I do on time? I don't even
We're
know.
over.
I was over.
Yeah,
By much?
about a minute.
Hmm.
What is the time? 10 minutes?
5.
No, for this it's
5.5.
5.5. Sometimes people are like 6.
Actually,
Oh,
how
okay.
many of the 8 went over, Sean?
Several.
Did anybody not go over?
Yeah,
Yes.
I know for sure that I did not. I was timing myself, and Bob did not. We
And
may have
so
been
the
the only
deal-
two.
And that's why you won.
I didn't win. Bob won.
Oh, that's right. That's why he won.
I was going to time myself, but forgot to hit start. And so,
Yeah, and I think if it's a story that I don't know, if you haven't timed yourself telling some version of that story, it's tricky when you're in the moment to sort of gauge it, unless you just have a thing, you're looking at a thing. It's hard.
Sean, do you tell stories or do you just host this?
I do a little of both.
Okay, I haven't ever. When are you going to perform?
I don't want to perform on my own hosted thing. I feel weird doing that, honestly.
Oh, you don't do it on the Flash thing?
I do on the Flash, yeah.
Oh, okay. That's what I was
Everybody does it
thinking.
on the Flash, yeah. That's
Okay.
different because that's more like what we're doing here, and we're just chatting and talking.
Yeah.
Maybe the bigger question is, when are you going to do it?
Well, as soon as I figure out a way to Asheville job interview.
What?
That's why I've been in the car for so long.
Okay.
I said, I'm on my way to Asheville right now for a job interview. So I have to kind of figure out where my life is going first.
What kind
I
of
might
job
be in
are you looking-
Asheville.
What kind of job is it?
It's for a special needs teacher for kids with behavior and emotional disturbance.
Got it.
top
You're
of
cutting
my-
out a little bit, Jennifer, just so you know. It might be
Yeah,
I
weird.
got
it's a tough
furloughed
gig.
from my job. Yeah, I've done that kind of thing before. Have some stories about that. But I got furloughed from my job, so I've been looking for a job since COVID. So, yeah, I got to kind of get a little bit more organized, and then I will. I'll tell a story, though.
Yeah, cool.
Eventually. I mean, I have one I wrote, but it's really long. I don't know if it's meant for, like,
No,
the stage.
didn't you send that one once? What, you at least one of them, you shared one.
Yeah, I did. I finally finished it, but I've got it. What I need to do is condense it. It's, like, really long.
Not necessarily. I mean, sometimes it's the right amount. I mean,
It's long.
Howard, don't you agree that like some stories don't need to be 7 minutes or 5 minutes?
No, I actually like long form stories.
Yeah.
I mean, I told Sean early on, I don't really enjoy slams.
Yeah.
I think a story should take on a rhythm, and you come into the story, you rise to the dramatic art, you bring it down, you have to figure out where it ends, and
Sure.
I get lost in a story. I did a 2.5-hour storytelling performance at the JCC actually in Minneapolis, and I loved it.
That's really long, Howard.
Yeah, it was really long. But
Was it one story or just a series of stories?
Well, there's a series of stories, but none of them were these 5-minute quickies.
No, I get it.
So are long form stories part of this group too?
It's up to the boss.
I'm the boss, aren't I? You want to do a long form?
I'd love to.
How long is long?
You're the boss.
Well, Howard, here's the thing.
I mean, if it's normally 5 minutes, I would say 10 minutes or 15 is long.
Here's the thing. Here's my thoughts. I welcome your thoughts as well on this. And I'll be honest about it, but this is how I feel. If your storytellers aren't really solid, 12 and 15-minute stories are really long.
I agree.
Yeah.
They're just, and so if you want to do a slam style, it's hit or miss. If you want to do a sort of curated thing, then I don't know if I'm using the word exactly how it's typically used, but then you're sort of going through some sort of process to say, okay, people will probably want to hear this story for that long.
You should do it with the winners.
How to structure it? Let me know. I mean, I'm down as long as it's a good story.
What if you only allow winners that have already won this?
I love that idea. Like around Christmas time, all the winners from the year would be invited to be in something longer.
Yeah. Yeah. I would. Then that at least you've got
The only I think it's a good idea, and I think that's a really good idea. The only reason I hesitate with that is sometimes, well, anybody who's won has done a really good job. There's also like some really good storytellers who came in second and third. So I want to include as many people as I can, but I guess for something that's, usually if it's like a 10 or 15 minute story, what would you have, like 4 or 5 people?
Yeah, it's a good point.
You really can't have a lot. It becomes just too long of an event for most people.
Yeah. And I actually like the 5 to 7 minute story. I really do. It's satisfying to hear.
I mean, I think it could be something in which it can be a little curated and just find a way to invite people who are both interested and have demonstrated some level of, skill, and we can work it out.
Do people send you the stories before this thing?
For the slam?
Yeah.
No.
Oh, so you don't pitch it first?
No. It's whoever wants to do it does it. And so that's usually how those types of things work. For the other ones that I've done so far where they've all been called 7 by 7 or something like that, I try to get creative. It's a bit of both. Sometimes it's I'm not really in the position now where people are really pitching me anything because I'm usually finding people on my own.
Yeah.
But a little bit of that, or someone's reaching out and we talk a little bit. We talk about the story. So it depends. That process is being worked out.
Do you know Rain Bennett?
No.
He's a storyteller. He was the director for the short film I was in. I'll talk to him.
Cool.
See if he wants to join us. He does like story. What do you call it? Storytelling coach. That's what it's called.
Nice.
He's a coach. So I'll ask him if he wants to join us.
Yeah, I know a lot of storytelling coaches, teachers, people who've been storytelling since, the last 50 years. And
Yeah.
I can put out the word for that as well.
You what?
I can put out the word. My fever started to spike up yesterday.
I mean,
I'm a little out of it, so I'm sorry.
it's interesting. I'm sure I'm going to be getting in my own way here. There's a part of me that is, if someone's good, they're good. And that's what's most important. I also want people who are like a little bit flexible, and I'm wondering how amenable a coach would be. But at the end of the day, if they have a great story to share, it's a great story to share. So it's all good.
He's a great guy. He's real laid back. He's not all.
Yeah.
He's a cool guy.
Yeah, Jennifer, I'm just projecting all my own shit on other people, for sure.
That's
Looks like
okay.
we got a lot of new faces today.
Some, yeah. Jay
Hey,
is in
Sharon.
Chicago.
Hi, Cookie.
Adita's in Jersey.
I'm in
Did
the
you have a lot
dark.
of new storytellers too?
What'd you say?
Were there new storytellers in the lineup that we haven't seen before?
Yes.
Oh, that's very
Jay
cool.
and Drew. And was there a third? Jay and Drew and Aditya, who came in second. Yeah.
Nice. That's very cool.
And a few familiar faces.
James,
And
why
then-
James, why
the
didn't you
recording.
tell, James? James, why didn't you tell? I see you lurking.
I don't have a great story to tell.
James, you have a story of struggling, yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah, you know what? I was thinking about that. I was like, I would tell a story like how Steven said, everybody wants that good struggle story. They want that. And I was like, I'm gonna say that in my beginning of the speech.
Yes. Yeah. You're going to do a direct quote from Steven, our dance teacher. He would appreciate that.
Yeah.
Is he gonna dance? I thought somebody was dancing.
You would want Steven. He's pretty good, man.
All right.
So.
Yeah, I definitely request the recording if I could, so I hear the stories that I missed.
Yeah, in fact, that reminds me I should stop this recording.
All right.
You don't need this stuff.